How's it going, guys? Andy here and welcome back to another video. In this one we'll be repotting this here Calathea Freddy to give it a bit more room to breathe and a nice new terracotta pot. Alright, let's get started. Alrighty, so let's get cracking with repotting. I've got this nice terracotta pot that I've had in the shed for a while. I've just given it a quick clean up just to make sure there are no nasties or pests in there, and also because this is going to be indoors and there's a big hole in the bottom, I've just got a piece of old pot, and alas, this was a very nice, I had a pair of tall pots that had some topiary box balls in out the front of my house, and in these latest gales it has fallen over, unfortunately, so it is now being reincarnated as some crocs to go in the bottom of the pot. But that will just sit in there, cover the hole a little bit, and slow the passage of water coming out, just to give it time to absorb a little bit, but it will still be able to come out the bottom of the hole. It's not watertight by any stretch. Alrighty, so that's the pot. It's quite a nice rustic pot, you might say. And the terracotta gives it the ability to be able to breathe through the pot because it's a porous pot as well, so that's helpful. So what I'm going to do in terms of potting mix, I've just got some generic potting compost down here. I've also got some, this is some horticultural grit, sand, some sharp sand basically, which is good to add to the soil, and that will give it a more free draining texture. And also, if you can see that, I've got some perlite as well, just to add to it to help with the aeration and keep some air to the roots, and should help it be a happy and healthy houseplant. So I'm just going to mix them up in the pot as I go, because I'm a little bit limited for room here. Quite often I'll be doing a few at once and mix a big batch up at once and spread it out, but let's just make one pot up for now. So I'm just going to add a handful of potting compost. A little bit of sand. And then we've got some perlite. Just going to mix them together. There you go. Now I reckon the depth might not be too far off now, so I'm just going to pop the plant out now and see what it's like for the depth. You can just squeeze it around in your fingers to loosen it up in the pot, then very gently coax it out. There we go, it's come out. So, whoops, there we go. It's going everywhere. It's been caught by the roots, I think. Wow. It's interesting. It's got quite tuberous roots at the bottom here. I didn't know that's how they formed. Quite interesting. That was just stuck in the bottom of the pot. So what I'm going to do, this was quite compacted, so I'm going to try and disturb the roots as little as possible. Just take off a little bit of this soil whilst keeping the roots in one place, if possible. I wouldn't be too worried about disturbing the roots normally, but it's still the winter and I don't want to affect it too much right now whilst it's not really growing very much. Right, I'm going to need a little bit more soil in there because it's a bit low in the pot. There we go. Nearly there. It's probably about right. Now, a little bit more perlite. A little bit more sand. Just going to mix that in so it's evenly distributed. There we go, that's a nice mix in there now. Let's see how the plant sits. It's about right. The pot's a reasonably big pot for this size plant at the moment, but it will grow quickly once we get into spring, so I think it will look good in there. Just going to top it up with soil. Any big clumps I'm just going to take out. I want to try and bury the plant about the same depth that it was in the pot. It's about there, so I'm going to keep that about the surface as well. You don't want to bury too deep because you can risk rotting the stem of the plant if you're not careful. Now just a little bit more sand. I'm going to work that in. It's always good to try and figure out where the front of your pot is. There's a bit of a chip around the back here, so this is going to be the front of my pot. So if you want some nicer leaves facing you, it's always good to try and determine which is the front before you finish off. So a quick sprinkle of perlite as well. And that's pretty much it. There we go. Let's clean up the rim. And she's good to go. So I'm going to give that a bit of a water just to settle everything in. And that should grow away nicely. Alrighty, that pretty much wraps it up for this here Calathea repotting video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing for many more videos to come. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.